You stand at the edge of a muddy road, your boots sinking with every step through thick, wet earth. You watch your farm's produce spoil untouched because the path to town is a quagmire no vehicle can cross. You feel the weight of lost income as days turn into months without market access. You hear neighbors talk about alternative routes, all equally unreliable and unsafe during the rainy season. You worry about emergency care, knowing an ambulance could never reach your community quickly if needed. You recall younger family members leaving for cities, tired of being trapped by bad infrastructure. You hear from officials that $2 billion has been pledged to fix the worst roads and bridges nationwide. You see banners celebrating new highway openings, with bright ribbons and smiling politicians. You hear people say rural roads remain forgotten, deteriorating further while urban and tourist areas get upgrades. You witness trucks struggling to pass through potholed main streets, slowing deliveries to nearby villages. You listen to contributors report that these impassable roads block school buses, forcing children to walk unsafe distances. You observe elderly residents unable to access health clinics because vehicles avoid the treacherous roads. You hear many say jobs are scarce as local businesses suffer from lack of reliable transport. You recount conversations where community members express frustration as past promises remain unfulfilled. You see new highway projects completed far from isolated communities still cut off by broken infrastructure. You notice that the $2 billion fund has been largely allocated to urban and tourist corridors rather than rural roads. You watch a public event celebrating roadworks while nearby communities remain inaccessible by standard vehicles. You hear contributors say political interests focus on visible projects, leaving less seen rural roads neglected. You see locals attempt to repair roads themselves, using gravel and stones to fill potholes. You observe that these community repairs are temporary, washed away after the next heavy rain. You watch children risk crossing unstable bridges to reach schools. You are told by locals of emergency vehicles turning back, unable to navigate the damaged roads in time of crisis. You witness farmers preparing to abandon their fields because transporting goods is too costly and uncertain. You hear many say their communities feel forgotten, left behind by national development plans. You see signs of infrastructural collapse, cracked bridges, collapsed embankments, and crumbled road edges. You note that despite announcements, maintenance programs lack follow-through and funding to reach remote areas. You experience firsthand how the gap between government promises and rural reality widens every rainy season. You watch political speeches praising progress as local roads crumble beneath daily use. You hear from contributors who feel that investments often bypass those most in need, deepening inequality. You observe how lack of infrastructure traps rural residents in cycles of poverty and isolation. You see that transportation obstacles limit access to education, healthcare, and job opportunities. You recognize that these barriers affect community health and economic potential long-term. You witness ongoing neglect, as government focus remains on flashy urban developments over rural resilience. You reflect on how isolated roads symbolize the deeper divides within national progress and priorities. You see how systemic neglect reveals persistent inequalities rooted in infrastructural choices. You understand that these patterns create enduring cycles of hardship for rural Jamaicans. You hear people say that until rural roads improve, many dreams will remain unreachable. You realize government pledges alone cannot fix roads without accountability and inclusive planning. You see that genuine progress requires recognizing and addressing the needs of rural populations. You consider that bridging physical divides could unlock social and economic opportunities long denied. You contemplate that punishing lands create punishing futures for those left behind the city lights. You know when roads crumble, so do the dreams of those stranded far from urban centers. A cinematic shot, cinematic film still, dramatic lighting, depth of field, anamorphic, social documentary, realistic, no text, Jamaican setting.